I'm delighted to be joined by our Deputy Minister, Fareed Amin, and my Senior Policy Advisor, Brian Teefey, along with other staff from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and I know they look forward to meeting many of you over the course of the next couple of days. These kinds of conferences are important for you as participants, but they're certainly important to me as a politician and as a cabinet minister, because it gives me an opportunity to say to a large group of people a big thank you for the work that you do day in and day out to help those individuals in our community and our society who need a little bit of help. In 2 decades, ONPHA has grown to include more than 760 nonprofit providers in 220 communities across this great province. And some 400,000 people, think about that for a minute, 400,000 people are benefiting from your efforts. There's no doubt you're making a significant difference in the lives of a great many people in our province, and I'm proud to be in your company today. This conference once again gives me an opportunity to meet directly with members in small groups to discuss issues and concerns with the not-for-profit sector, something I found to be both enjoyable and informative when we started that practice last year. It allows me to evaluate our government, the progress our government has made during the past year towards fulfilling what we consider one of our most important responsibilities: to help Ontario families secure safe, healthy, affordable places to call home. Before I start, I wanted to say special congratulations to someone from my hometown of Ottawa who, after many years of tireless advocacy and work in bettering the people's lives in the city of Ottawa, is retiring. Everyone knows Catherine Boucher, the Executive Director of the Centretown Citizens Ottawa Corporation. Catherine, I think she's right over there. I saw her just a little while ago. I admire your efforts and your dedication, and on behalf of our community of Ottawa, and really in the entire province, because you've taken a leadership role at organizations like ONPHA, thank you very, very much, and please enjoy your retirement. I also want to send special greetings, and I'm sure you would share with me those greetings, to our Assistant Deputy Minister of Housing, Kathleen Blinkhorn, who is waging a courageous battle against cancer and obviously is not with us today, but is back in the hospital. I know our thoughts and prayers are with Kathleen. Many of you worked with her when she was with the City of Toronto, and she was instrumental in building the foundation of our long-term affordable housing strategy consultation. And Kathleen is deeply missed at the ministry, and we're wishing her the very best in a very tough battle that she is facing. It's been an interesting and quite moving year for me as Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. I feel, thanks in large part to the help of everyone here today, that we have in fact made some significant steps forward in a very positive fashion together. From successfully hosting public consultations across the province in about 13 different communities, to getting shovels in the ground to build new housing and to repair existing social housing, it's been a busy year, but one I am proud to have been part of. Thanks to the assistance of our great staff in our regional offices, we have collected some photos from the past year to try and capture the places that we have been and the work that you and we collectively have done. While there's always more work to do, as Hugh pointed out, you can be sure that you don't just have a partner in the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, you have a series of champions from the regional offices all the way up to the Minister's office. Now let me start by painting a picture of what Hugh referred to, some of the challenges, economic challenges that we're facing. I don't have to tell you we're in the midst of a worldwide economic recession. You know that, your clients know that, the communities you serve know that. But this worldwide recession has been particularly harsh in our province. Revenues have been reduced substantially. In fact, corporate tax revenue this year is down 50%. Just imagine in your own organization if you're operating with the assumption that 50% of your revenue is going to be taken away from you. And while the need for social services has continued to grow, in essence, to record levels because of the hardship, unemployment, and the economy is taking. And of course, we do have a big deficit. The Treasurer recently announced that the deficit is going to reach approximately $24.7 billion this year. It's a reflection of the collapse of the world economy and our actions to help families through it. In each corner of our planet, our increasingly globalized world has found itself faced with a global recession that all nations are battling with, and tough choices have to be made. In our own kitchens, families are forced to make decisions about their own budgets. For some, and I know you all know people like this, these decisions are much more severe and much more drastic than others. I understand this, and I know how serious this is. When I get to points like this in my speech, I always remind it of a story that I came across. It's a story which proves to me that every dollar we invest in good programs at the government level creates stories of people overcoming obstacles. A couple of years ago, we created an employment program, a summer employment program for young people in economically challenged neighborhoods throughout urban centers like Toronto and Ottawa and London. And these programs were designed to help get people their first summer job in an area where their parents didn't have connections, they didn't have networks, they didn't have the kind of opportunities that perhaps some of us have had to pick up the phone and call a friend or a friend of a friend to see if you can get your son or daughter a job. These individuals living in these communities, in many instances social housing communities, just had no way out of those social housing communities to get that very first summer job. And I had the pleasure of attending a graduation ceremony for some of these students in my riding in the west end of Ottawa. And they had chosen one individual to go and, in essence, give the valedictorian address to talk about his experience of getting that first job. And this was a young man, about 17 years old, lived in a social housing community, and was so grateful and so emotional and so thoughtful in his presentation that you could hear a pin drop when he was telling the story about how he went in for his interview, how he got the job, how he learned on the job, how he got his first paycheck. And he explained to everyone in that room that after his first couple of paychecks that he'd saved up, he didn't go out and buy a new pair of Nikes or an iPod or an Xbox. He actually went out and bought a washer and dryer for his mother. Because his mother it was a single mother, his mother had to haul the laundry out several blocks away from her home. And something that we often take for granted, something as simple as a washer and dryer, to think of the maturity and the thoughtfulness of that young man going out and saving up his money so he could help his mother buy a washer and dryer, those are the stories that stick with you as a politician or a community leader. And it gives me hope in the future generation that those young people who haven't received many breaks in life, in fact, are doing the right thing and making their communities and their households and their cities better places to live and work. And like this young man, everyone is pitching in to help steer us in the right direction. In such difficult economic times, I'm pleased that our government has continued to fund all of our ongoing housing programs. I'm delighted that we've committed to provide record levels of new funding for affordable housing, and everyone is working together to achieve success. If you look at this government's record since having the privilege of being elected to office in 2003, our investments in affordable housing have gone in only one direction, and that is up. When you include operation and capital investments, support for housing has increased from $641 million in 2003 to close to $1.3 billion in 2009. And while the housing story has improved, we were very quickly to read about we're not about to read about the final chapter. We still have work to do. As you know, an endpoint for the successful and historic Canada-Ontario Affordable Housing Program was fast approaching. Here was a program that did, in fact, spell success, and we knew we had to continue to build on that success. Even while the federal government was smiling at ribbon cuttings and welcoming new tenants into units, they were completely silent on whether the deal would, in fact, be renewed. However, we rose to action. Many of you in this room were working with us side by side, along with community advocates and our partners and provincial and territorial housing ministers that I worked with. We launched a lobbying effort to ensure that the Harper government didn't turn their back on our province's most vulnerable. Considering the fact that I could barely get a meeting with the previous federal minister of housing, Monty Solberg,